morning, class 12. Today I'm here with the continuation of the reason for the factionalism in the Congress. Children, in yesterday's video, you all have seen, the reasons for the factionalism in the Congress, and by now we know who are the syndicate members. Okay, the four important, Indian, the kingmakers of India. Okay, you have your K. Kamaraj, Atulya Ghosh, Sanjeeva Reddy, okay, and Nijalingappa. So these were the four kingmakers, and these were known as the old guards, okay, the old guards of the Congress. Okay, and why did the factionalism happen? So we've seen the various reasons, and the last reason that we discussed was your presidential election. Okay, and presidential election was PM Gandhi's propped up Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, okay, in the 1967 elections, okay, where we see Indira Gandhi did win, Congress did win, okay, but it was not with the absolute majority. She had to get a coalition, form a coalition government, right? Okay, so then now for the next 1969 presidential election, okay, when we have your next president, and the Giri and Vivi Giri, okay, that was the presidential candidate, official candidate, okay, sorry, not official candidate, that was the candidate that was supported by Indira Gandhi, okay, and the official candidate is Sanjeeva Reddy. Now Mrs. Giri, okay, we could see that when the syndicate members, okay, had made a compromise in making Mrs. Gandhi the Prime Minister of India after Lal Bahadur Shastri, because they thought she would be a puppet in their hands, but that did not happen. Okay, so you can see the tug of war, the tussle between the syndicate members and Mrs. Indira Gandhi to have the hold over the party. Okay, so we had seen that 1969 presidential elections also, where Vivi Giri, okay, wins the presidential election against Sanjeeva Reddy, who was the official candidate of the syndicate members. Okay, the next reason now for the factionalism in the Congress, it is the nationalization, and this is the last reason. Okay, and then finally we have the division in the Congress, that is the Congress O and the Congress I, that I've already explained in the last video. Congress O stands for your Congress organization, and that is the old Congress also, okay, that is your syndicate members Congress, okay, and the Congress R, or your requisitionist, okay, that stands for your Indira Gandhi's Congress, and till date today we have the Congress is your Indira Gandhi's Congress. Okay, now nationalization of 14 banks, 1969, okay, you have the government now passing the acquisition and transfer of undertakings, okay, ordinance, that is the law that was passed by Mrs. Gandhi, and nationalized the 14th largest commercial banks. Now, as we see in Morarji Desai, okay, who was also the candidate to become the Prime Minister, okay, who was the most capable candidate, but he did not become. So he was given the portfolio of the Finance Minister. Now, he should have been discussed about all this matter, but Mrs. Indira Gandhi did not discuss about this matter. Okay, and when we see that Morarji Desai, who believed in free enterprises, okay, he being the Finance Minister, okay, he wanted free enterprises, and you see these banks contain 85% of the bank deposits in the country. Okay, so he did not want these banks to be nationalized, but without the prior consent, okay, of Morarji Desai, who was then the finance minister, okay, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, passes this ordinance or law of nationalizing the 14 largest commercial banks in 1969. Okay, as I said, Morarji Desai was not consulted by Prime Minister on this major decision and was out from the cabinet. Now, before 4 days, when the nationalization of the banks ordinance was passed by Mrs. Indira Gandhi, okay, your Morarji Desai was removed from the post, okay, of the finance minister, okay, and it was just such a big humiliation for Morarji Desai that he resigned from the Congress party. Okay, so PM Indira Gandhi removed the finance minister Morarji Desai in 1969 when he opposed nationalization of banks. And then it leads to the final split in the Congress. Now, though Indira Gandhi had acquired a certain control over the government after the blow suffered by the syndicate in 1967 elections. Now, why is it so? Because in northern part of India, okay, these Congress leaders, that means your syndicate leaders, the four members, okay, they were the unchallenged, Congress members, okay, Congress leaders, right? Okay, so when 1967 elections happened, okay, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, okay, did not, much campaign, okay, for the she did not do the campaigning for your voting. It was the syndicate members. So obviously when the elections was lost, okay, most of the Indian states, okay, of Kerala, okay, West Bengal, and many more, 6 more states, okay, where it was lost, because they lost in 9 states, okay. So when that happened, then they could not form an absolute majority, okay, in the union government, right? They had to form a coalition government. So when that happened, it becomes a hard blow to the syndicate members, okay. And she had hardly an organizational base in the party, but then by that time, so she did not have that that connection with the grassroots thing, okay. So she acquired, and after this 1967 election, when the syndicate members were blamed, okay, now of course she was coming, okay, into a kind of where grassroots level people, okay, were also getting attracted to Mrs. Indira Gandhi, okay. But she did not have any organizational base. That means the party, the members of the party who were the main decision makers in, okay, who were the president of the Congress party, okay, were these, the members who made active decisions were these 4, okay, and not Mrs. Gandhi, okay, because she was promoted by K. Kamraj, who was the president of the Congress, okay, children, so don't get confused here. So Indira Gandhi had acquired a certain control over the government after the blow suffered by the syndicate in the 1967 elections, because they were the one who did the campaigning for the elections, okay. So they did not get an absolute majority, okay. So that was the syndicate were blamed for it, right, okay. But so for overall, okay, being the prime minister, okay, she did gain that popularity, but the main organization base, okay, of the party, okay, the core thing, she was not in that prominence there as the member of that party, okay. Now party launched a 10 points program. Now this party here is the government, okay, after the union government passed this 10 points program in 1967, and that is the socialist agenda, okay. Socialist agenda over here. Now that means you have the urban land ceiling, all that kind of, that was a 10 points program where they had different socialist agenda, okay, and there one was your urban land ceiling, okay, all that was there. Now syndicate, now before the prime minister, okay, she announced the 10 points program, okay, that had to be notified, okay, to these members, the Congress members, the core Congress members or the syndicate members. But Mrs. Gandhi again did not notify them, okay, and she said, okay, I do good for the country or I be answerable to the party. So that was what she said, okay. She did not find it important, okay, to discuss these matters with your Congress members, okay. And now these people, okay, the syndicate members now asserted that the government should be accountable to the party, because she belongs to the Congress party, so she has to be accountable and she has to be answerable to the members of the party, of the working committee, to formulate policies and implement it. But Mrs. Indira Gandhi did not do it. Therefore, on this basis, okay, now she has been removed, okay, from expelled from the party, from the Congress party, okay, for violating the party discipline, okay. That means not discussing things with the Congress working committee, okay, and she's making her own plans, formulating her own policies and implementing it, okay. She is not answerable. She says she's not answerable to the members of the Congress, okay, whereas the Congress finds that she's accountable for the policies that she implements, okay. So now you have the final split in the Congress, okay, and then she moves out with her own party members, okay, means those ones who want to support her, okay. So out of 705 members, okay, there are 446 members, that is your the Congress members, walks off with Indira Gandhi's side, okay, and forms your Indira party, that is your Congress I, okay, but officially it is known as your Congress R, but some people also call it as Congress I, okay. So that is your Congress. As I said, 12th November 1969, the party finally split, okay, finally split, okay, and setting up with Mrs. Indira Gandhi setting up a rival organization, okay, which came to be known as your Congress O, okay, and organization was formerly led by Kamraj, K. Kamraj, okay, and it was formerly called the Old Congress, as I said, okay. So there was the Old Congress. So he is your K. Kamraj, you can see that. And 1971 elections now, okay, you have the 1971 election after 67, okay, and you have your Congress are winning, okay, the elections, and the All India Congress Committee 446, as I said, okay, out of 705 members, 446 walks, okay, with Mrs. Indira Gandhi, and form a separate Congress party, that is the Congress I. Congress R lost its majority in the parliament. Of course, they did not find it because they had to have the coalition government that is being formed, but remain in power with the support of the regional parties such as the DMK and the CPI. Okay, now there was another issue about their privy purses that we talk, that still, because of this reason, okay, Mrs. Indira Gandhi had to again call off the elections, quickly. She had to dissolve your Lok Sabha in 1971, that is what we're talking about. Okay, after 67 election, okay, the due date for the election was 1972, but then she calls it off early, 1 year early, 1971. It is because of this reason, and that is the privy purses. Now, what is the privy purses? Privy purses, was the in 1947, okay, where India was partitioned, okay, India and Pakistan, okay, and then you had the question of the princely states whether to join your Indian Union or your Pakistan, okay, or Pakistan Dominion, okay. So on that issues where in the instrument of accession, okay, these princely states or Maharajas were given a kind of a stipend or a monthly allowance if they joined the Indian government, and that is how the Maharaja had signed, okay, your Maharaja, all the Maharajas, okay, of the different various princely states like Hyderabad, Junagadh, all they had signed these instrument of accession based on this privy purses because they were getting a certain monthly allowance, okay, or a stipend. Now, what did Mrs. Gandhi do? Okay, she abolished the privy purses. Okay, there is a challenging abolition. That means she abolished the privy purses. That means no more of the princely states will be given any of the stipends by the government, and that was done by the 24th Constitution Amendment Act. Okay, but the Supreme Court, now all these Maharajas, they went to the Supreme Court, okay, and they challenged, okay, the Constitution Amendment that was made by Prime Minister. Okay, and therefore Mrs. Indira Gandhi now, although the Supreme Court took the sides of the Maharajas and they continued getting their allowances, okay, but then because of this chaos, what happened? Prime Minister Indira Gandhi dissolved the Lok Sabha, because general elections for the Lok Sabha to form the government, it is after every 5 years. We had seen 52, 57, okay, then 67, and the due date was 1972, but then it happened in 1971, that is the 5th Lok Sabha elections, okay. So the Lok Sabha announced fresh elections, and Mrs. Indira Gandhi wins this elections again, okay, although she could not form the absolute majority in the union government, okay, but she had, and this is how one very important change here again, and the change in politics. Why? Because we have various parties coming up, okay, and forming the coalition government to making Indira Gandhi to form the government supporting her, okay, and Mrs. Indira Gandhi wins the election. And children, please remember this slogan. It may come, it comes for the short questions in ISC. Mrs. Indira Gandhi wins the elections with the slogan that is Garibi Hatao, or eliminate poverty. That is what their propaganda was, and the propaganda of the syndicate, okay, members were Indira Hatao. Okay, that was their propaganda, and hers were Garibi Hatao, and finally she wins the election. But after that, okay, again we have the coming up of the major, okay, you can turn, okay, in the history of the Congress, because after elections, after independence, okay, we had seen till 16 years, okay, till 1967, okay, you had the Congress only, okay, winning the election. But after 1971-72, okay, we have the downturn of the Congress, because after that we have the first non-Congress government coming, okay, in power, forming the government, and that is the Janata government. Okay, children, so we'll talk about it in the next video. For today, please go through it, and this is a very important chapter, factionalism in the Congress, okay, or the political turmoil, okay, that happened after the political vacuum that was created after your death of Jawaharlal Nehru in 1963, okay. After him, Lal Bahadur Shastri becomes the Prime Minister, but within 1.5 years, okay, he's also dead, okay, with an accident where he goes to Takshand, as I already discussed in the previous video. Children, you can have a watch there. For today, please now go through this, make a note of the things I've explained, not only what is there in the slide, but what I've explained also. You need to write it down and send it as your assignment. Okay, children, thank you so much.